show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relaks Radio. Tune in to Relaks Radio.
Relaks Radio.
Hello and welcome to Relaks Radio. Like I said, you're with Regina, and today I'll be speaking a little about the philosophy of Stoicism, along with a bit of Buddhism, Taoism, with my special guest, Emmanuel. Introduce yourself, Emmanuel.
Hi everyone, my name is Emmanuel.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. So tell us a bit about yourself. You're a uni student, right?
Yep, uni,
What are you doing right now?
business marketing and yeah. business marketing.
How are you finding it?
How did you find a new course, to be fair? It's alright, it's going quite well. I'm enjoying it so far. Year two.
Like right now it's a bit tough with all the online learning and
for
stuff.
sure,
It's a
for
different
sure.
experience to what you're used to.
Yeah.
But I think you should be doing well. Like
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so far I'm in 1 day a week, so I feel it's a little bit better, I guess. But I know people that just, everything's online, so.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough right now, especially in the situation we're in. But aside from that, like I said, we'll be talking a little about the philosophy of Stoicism, because I know that you're actually the one who introduced me to this sort of way of thinking. You said that you read a book.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I got introduced to it myself from a close friend of mine, Ramil. Shout out Ramil if you're listening. But now generally it's a way of going through life in terms of how you approach things, when things happen to you, how do you handle it, how you react.
What's the
and
book
stuff.
called?
It's called The Daily Stoic. So with this, you kind of just read a page a day. Like it's got like every day, like the date will be at the top. So for that day, you should read this chapter.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it was every day is just how I kept it builds up your strength, your mental fortitude.
Right.
So yeah, which is why I recommend it to anyone that's listening.
Because with Stoicism, it's an ancient Greek philosophy
Oh yeah.
founded by his name is Zeno
Greek.
of Citium
Mm-hmm.
in like the 3rd century, and basically like the gist of Stoicism is sort of dealing with life, like not being sort of controlled by your emotions, trying to deal with that.
That's it.
What have you felt like? Well, what have you learned so far from reading this book?
Do you know what? With that book, I think it's a special book in terms of every time I read a page, I just feel like it's meant to, like, it's part of my life at that point. So like,
do you feel like you can really relate to it, like it's written for you?
100%. So in like a moment I might be going through something, I don't know, relationship or something bad. Yeah, exactly. So one of these things might be affecting my mentality in terms of approaching life, and that can generally lead me into doing like stuff that might be self-destructive or whatever.
Right.
So, but yeah, whenever I read that, I kind of like, okay, it kind of stabilizes me and I'm back into my zone kind of.
Do you feel like you're sort of driven by your emotions in some situations? Does it sort of ground you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who isn't driven by their emotions from time to time? Things happen in life that you don't really have too much control over. I mean, one thing that the book always says is that the only thing you can control in life is your decision. So
absolutely,
whatever you want to, if you're like how you react to something, you can't control what the situation is. Whatever happened in your life, it happened. It's too late. It's
you can only control how you react to it.
That's it. So
right.
However you go about life is how life's going to treat you, to be fair. That's just kind of the general gist of the book, I would say.
Right. Because with Stoicism, it's quite like guided by logic and applying reason. And, well, when you're looking, some people like to say that obviously emotion and logic are completely different things. But with this sort of philosophy, I'd say, in my opinion, it
kind of brings them together.
Yeah, it brings them together because obviously we are humans who experience sort of a wide range of emotions.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes we can get a bit carried away with how we might react to a certain situation, like emotionally. But it's important to sort of step away from that, like, emotional bubble and to try to look at it more logically, a bit more objectively. I think that's what Stoicism...
Objectively is quite a main point right there.
Yeah, I think that's what it sort of emphasizes.
And I recommend it to anyone in terms of... Because with me, I feel like my emotions kind of is how I led life. I kind of didn't really think about the consequences too tough like that. I just kind of went about life.
Well, because when say you're in a certain situation and you're reacting to it, perhaps in that moment, that's the only thing that's like sort of on your mind right now. You're just reacting to that, and it takes a while for you to be like, okay, to calm down a bit and to step away from the situation, how you feel, and try and resolve any sort of issues at hand totally objectively.
I think, but that's the thing in terms of reacting emotionally is something that you can actually stop. Not stop, but you can practice
you can control it.
Yeah, control it basically. And that's what that's what I'm saying in terms of Stoicism. That's what it generally teaches you in terms of, yes, this has happened. How are you going to react to it? Are you going to be emotional, or are you going to think of it and say, what's the best option? What can I do now? It's already happened. What's the next step for me to go and kind of just approach life in that kind of direction?
Do you think that it's sort of... Because having emotions is not a bad thing.
Of course not.
And reacting emotionally is something... It's human nature, is it not?
We all do it, yeah.
Yeah. But it's... Like, what is emphasized is the fact that we should sort of... not let it control us completely, because we do have, like people say, we have our hearts and we have our minds, and it's important to sort of go about any problem that you want to solve in kind of this objective way, whether it is like a problem with a relationship you have or with uni or how it's making you feel. It's important to sort of think about what you can do to improve the way that you react to things.
I just think generally with me, the reason why I kind of got kind of deeper into it is because I realized that my reactions are not just affecting me. It might lead on further than just that moment kind of thing. So it might be maybe when I go home, I don't know, maybe I just start arguing. I just don't need to do that. You know what I mean? So I realized it as I was slowly learning more about it. I kind of realized, like, why am I why am I making these bad decisions because of one little thing that might have happened that shouldn't affect everything else that goes on in my life kind of thing.
Because, like, for example, you say you have like an argument with like a significant other, and it sort of puts a downer on your mood, and then you sort of like part ways from them, not like break up with them, but like you go home or you see your family and stuff, and that energy, that pent up anger or
you just dish out
or
on
sadness,
anyone.
It's dished out on like innocent people that have no idea what you're going through, and like some people find it hard to express that, oh, I've just had an argument or this and that, and they're just like sort of receivers to your emotions that perhaps are not really like
and it's kind of made
it's not
worse.
Intended to.
It's kind of made worse because, like, especially I wouldn't say my household, but I'm just saying with me, with my parents or my family in general, I don't really say, oh yeah, I've had a bad day to them. Do you know what I mean? They can read it off me kind of thing, which is why I don't really say too much. But it's that I don't want them to read it off me like that kind of thing, because why am I reacting in a negative way when they're innocent people? Like,
and they've probably had a bad day as well, or going through their own things. Like who really knows? But like you said, with this philosophy, it is kind of like I said, it is guided by this like concept of logic, thinking logically and objectively about how you should go about your life in a moral way, of course. But I think you can sort of link it with spirituality, because there are a lot of practices that you can sort of do to sort of live 100%. This stoic life, let's say. Like, for example, like introspection and self-dialogue. Like sometimes we forget to actually like talk to ourselves. Sometimes like not out loud. Like not all people talk.
People do that though.
Yeah, I do that. My sister finds that really weird. But like sort of this act of questioning yourself and this self-dialogue, starting that up and asking yourself, like, why am I acting this way? Or why am I letting another person affect me that much? this is the sort of steps to introspection that like is kind of important to take, because like I said, I've said this before, but the better we understand ourselves, the better we can understand other people, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably one of the main takes I took from that, actually. Another chapter that actually mentioned that was it was a chapter that talked about we're all like training dummies, basically. We're all here. No one is perfect. No one's got everything in order. Do you know what I mean? So when you think of it like that, you can kind of relate to another person who's also going through like bad things, and be like, okay, like I shouldn't react like that, because if I was in his position, like we're all training, we're all going through life, we're going step by step. It's not as easy as people might make it out to be, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Like you said, when people say, oh, you learn something new every day, you actually do, sure, because you don't know what's going to happen. Life is not predictable. Or you don't know what's going to happen the next day, or what is going to come your way, and sort of trying to like be prepared for that, it's really hard. So
no, that's why I think we had a previous conversation about being opportunists.
Yes,
so
yes.
When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, innit?
Yes, absolutely. Like with being opportunistic, like it's a good trait. But a lot of the time, like I said this before, I used to conflate being opportunistic with being not compulsive. I mean impulsive. Yeah. With if there was something fun to do, I'd always be the person to be like, yes, let's go ahead and do it, and perhaps not think about the consequences of our actions. Like
there's quite a thin line between.
Yeah, because for you could be having fun, but you could also like be hurting another person in that, and like thinking about those consequences, I was quick to not do so. And just to do
it. Generally hurt yourself even.
Yeah, and you don't realize that at the time that perhaps the behavior you're sort of exhibiting is very, very self-destructive. Like let's say you're at uni and like you're not really focusing on your studies and stuff. You just want to make friends and socialize, because we are social beings. We're a pack animal, don't you think?
Yeah.
We thrive in communities. So like this social aspect of like uni is important to a lot of people. It was for me, especially in first year, when you're meeting new people, you're meeting so many people, and you're trying to find like your group of friends where you feel like you belong. And because of that feeling, sometimes you catch yourself doing things that perhaps you might have not done before, or acting in a certain way that you didn't know you could act,
or even that's not you, you just did it, kind of thing.
Yeah, like you say something, or you make fun of someone, or like, and who knows, like it's different for everyone. But I think a lot of people sort of go through this, and then they start questioning themselves, like, who am I? This big question who are we really, and why are we here on this earth, and stuff like that.
That question, that's a weird question. That question has always been at the back of my head, but I never really come to like answer that question until recently, actually.
Well, it's a hard question to answer. I don't think we can answer it fully like right now. I mean, we're still pretty young.
For sure.
We're in the early 20s, so
I mean, for that, I realized that you're not just one thing. Like, you can't put yourself in one box, kind of thing. I mean, I realize this because I've got like I meet people from different areas of London quite often, or even the world, actually. And with them, I can still resonate I can see myself in them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's religion, whether it's or like cultures or whatever. Like when you speak to them, you kind of realize, oh, these people are good people, kind of thing. And that's where I feel like the line is.
Of course, because you can meet, you meet so many people from different walks of life, but they're all still experiencing the human experience that you are as well. And in that moment, whatever connects you to, whether it's the same class that you're taking, or whether you have the same like mutual friends. It's those things, those little connections that help you sort of build a bigger one with when it comes to establishing another like friendship or relationship with a person. Yeah, definitely. But I think right now we'll take a quick little break and stay tuned, because we'll talk a little bit about Alan Watts. Emmanuel actually recommended me to watch a few of his YouTube videos. He is sort of this motivational speaker, I like to say. He follows like the religion of Buddhism, Taoism, and a lot of people have said that he has sort of bridged the gap between Western and Eastern thought or way of thinking, because philosophically, and he's a very spiritual person, I'd say, don't you think?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you think you're quite spiritual?
Well, since listening to him, I feel like I've
it's opened your mind
deeper, so much deeper for sure. Yeah,
definitely. So stay tuned for that conversation, and like I said, we'll take a little break.
Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relax Radio.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Regina, and today, like I said, we'll be talking a little bit about Stoicism. We spoke a little bit about Stoicism, dealing with life, different situations, how we might react emotionally to them, and not letting our emotions sort of drive us so much, because it can be a little bit self-destructive at times with our behaviors and the stuff that we exhibit, and perhaps the way that we express ourselves. But yeah, like I said, with Stoicism, like the main goals are to sort of like to come to this point where you can have a sort of clear judgment and see and try and resolve problems as objectively as we can, using logic, and sort of it does sort of emphasize like to become free from suffering, we have to sort of control our emotions. This self-control and this discipline is very important in living a stoic life, so to speak. Like I said, there are different spiritual practices where like introspection comes into play, and but there's also when I was doing some research on it, this idea of like mortality salience, and it's basically realizing that the concept of like this concept of death, we should have the awareness that it is inevitable, and we should question. A lot of people like to question like what happens on afterwards, but
that's another whole topic.
Yeah, it is a whole different topic. But this acceptance of death being inevitable, but that should lead you to live a life as fullest as you can.
That's it.
And because we all know it happens, and it happens around us every day, and like you just watch the news and you see so many terrible things happening, and a lot of people like to ask, like, well, why does this happen, or why is God doing this, or why is this and that? And this awareness is important to sort of accept, because a lot of the time people like to think on what they've done in the past or what is coming in the future, and they don't focus on living in the present.
The here and now.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And Stoicism really emphasizes the fact that living in the present and dealing with problems at hand is the way you should live your life. It's the way you sort of gain fortitude or courage with like dealing with pain or suffering, and it's a way of how we can sort of gain a bit of self-control.
Yeah, I think the whole topic about death is a hard one, but eventually we'll all come across it with someone you know. Like, it generally happens, but with that, I think one thing we need to realize is a lot of times the things that we kind of do is we're scared of, or the way we think is we're scared of it. We're scared of the inevitable. But that approach to life kind of, I would say, hinders you in terms of like planning your next steps, or do you know what I mean? Like living in the here and now, like you said, which is something that Alan Watts actually talked about quite a lot, in terms of the moment is not just a one moment, like a click. It's a long, when you hit a bell and it rings for a while.
Yeah, it resonates for a while.
That wave kind of thing. That's the moment that we're in. That wave that we're in at this here and now. We need to appreciate it, live where we are, and just embrace of what's going on around you, because it's these moments that if you don't do that, eventually you might regret it, because you look back and think, wow, like, this was such a great time, I wish I took this opportunity, or this and that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and dwelling on like past experiences or events and thinking, and having these sort of regrets that you didn't do this or you didn't achieve that, it stops you from sort of looking positively at what you can do right now at this very moment. You can do anything you actually want, whether it is to say your dream is to, like, I don't know, become a musician and stuff. Literally, you knew it, right? Because I love music and I love singing, but literally nothing's stopping me from learning an instrument right now and writing a couple songs and becoming a #1 artist in the UK. What are you saying?
I'm here for it, man.
But obviously life gets in the way. Like, we are busy with different stuff, different responsibilities, family, uni, working, like. With living in the society that we live in right now, a capitalistic society, money is sort of a priority. It's a driving force for why we do certain things, like why we have like a certain job, and perhaps why some people are not achieving their true dreams, and because money is a big factor of our lives, so it's
a cycle as well. You're stuck in there. Let's say you work, like in my past works, everyone in my job hated that. Like, we didn't like working in retail, but it was something that we had to do because we knew at the end of the month that we're gonna get money. But it's one of those things that you're stuck in that loop, because once you get paid, you're then spending it and you're back needing more money. And
because like, and say you want to like get a certain thing, you want to start saving for a car, a house, and you're working for this, but obviously you've got like, literally you step out and you just walk in London and you've got to pay like £5. You just breathe the air, and it's sort of you're spending money every single second.
Painful,
it is painful, but it's the life we live in right now. It's the kind of society we live in right now, and like, it is what it is. But like I said, living in the present is really important, because what we do right now sort of makes the path to our future, whatever future we want. Like, a lot of people are like, we like to think, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, especially in time right now, in these unprecedented times with COVID is sort of I don't know, taking control of our whole lives.
It's stopping us from doing a lot of things. With reason.
That's one way of thinking about it. But another way, like, this sort of, like, the time in lockdown, we had a conversation about this before, but this time in lockdown, yes, it's been sort of terrible and sort of pretty
traumatic.
A little bit, yeah. And it's tough on your mental health, staying at home, not socializing. Like I said, we're very social beings, so having that cut off from us, having the opportunity, because you know what, before I wasn't even that much of a social person. Like I wouldn't say that I needed to like meet up with my friends every day and all like be constantly doing something. I really appreciate my alone time, but having that taken away from you, it's no longer like it really affects you, because it sort of
kind of puts you in a depressed state.
Yeah,
if you're being honest.
Definitely. But in lockdown, a lot of people have appreciated this time, because it's a time for them to sort of self-reflect on a lot of things. And that's perhaps why Stoicism might come into play. Like for you started reading this book, The Daily Stoic, and questioning your life.
I've been reading it for a while, but I took it more serious during this time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It resonated with you a bit more, because like that time in lockdown, what you spent.
You have literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
So you have to put energy in something that's going to be worthwhile.
And hopefully something that's sort of positive. And
yeah.
And for some people, like, lockdown has been a bit of a blessing in that sense, because some people like might have found a religion that they sort of can resonate with and choose to like devote themselves to. Other people have like gain new skills. I know so many people who have started painting, and they've never painted anything before. They just started painting or drawing or doing the things that they always wanted to do but not had the time, because we were stuck. Some people were furloughed, stuck at home. So it was a time where you can sort of explore the things that you've always wanted to explore, read a bit more, watch the movies you've always wanted to watch. Like, for the first time I watched Fight Club, and I always said...
First time?
Yeah.
You did? No way.
Everyone says, oh, Fight Club is so good, Fight Club. Yeah, it is good. But I finally got around to doing it.
It happens, yeah.
And, it's... like, I enjoyed it for the most part. As sort of mentally draining as it was.
At first it was really tough, I'd say. It was just getting used to that kind of what we were there for. The first month was terrible.
Yeah, that transition was it. I don't know. It put a lot of strain onto our mental health and stuff, and a lot of our relationships. Say like, because when lockdown first happened, I moved back from living alone from uni to moving back to my family house. And readjusting to family life, and that was a bit of a struggle because you're so used to freedom and doing things your own way, and then once other people come into play, or perhaps the way you react to things, like I get into arguments with my sister every 5 minutes about the dumbest things, the silliest things. But it took a bit. That transition time was important, because through all of that arguments or adjusting to stuff, our relationships were strengthened, I'd say.
For me personally, aside from that, the first month where it just went downhill, I just realized that I deeped how life was moving so fast before the quarantine, in terms of I had work, uni, and gym was also a big factor. So I literally had no free time to myself. I would be doing those things, and on the weekend I'll be going out. So it was like a routine kind of thing, which I was stuck in. And then it was a sudden break, which I then realized, okay, why did I do these things? Why did I not want any free time? Why did I want to use every second of my time?
And doing something to keep you busy. Yeah,
because then when you sit there and you realize there's a lot of unanswered. You got deep questions that you haven't answered. So in terms of, why do I literally these questions in terms of why do I act like this, and why do I react a certain way to this situation? So you start looking back at situations, and that's when my kind of journey in spirituality kind of began. And I would say, literally, this whole journey has been quite recent. It's still fresh on my mind, which is why. And now that we're kind of walking back out, it's like implementing it. How do I implement it? How do I not go back to living the same way I was before?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's quite a difficult question in itself.
Yeah, and it's something that you have to work on every day. It's not like, oh, you suddenly found the answer to something and you can go ahead and live your life like as this newly enlightened person. No, like we said, we're learning new things every day. We're learning to deal with certain situations that are sort of unpredictable, because you can't predict how another person's going to react. You can't predict how you're going to react. You can't control it. But what you can control is sort of having that discipline to not let it affect your entire life. We have this sort of like catastrophic mentality to a lot of things. When something bad happens to us,
that's the end of the world kind of.
Yeah, it's the end of the world. I used to think like that a lot in school. Like, even if it was something as small and silly as like, oh my gosh, I can't find a prom dress, my life is over, I'm gonna be the ugliest one there. You know, these silly things. And at that time, it meant all the world to me. Yeah, because it was my world. School and prom was my world. But now, like, growing up and having a lot more responsibility, and just sort of that act of questioning yourself,
I think that
it affected me a lot.
Yeah. Asking that question entices you to go deeper, trying to figure out things for yourself, trying to see the world for what it is, kind of thing. But it kind of entices you to grow as a person, which I really love. I love seeing people questioning these things, and then I can see how. Yeah, like from that question, this person has become not a new person, but a better person.
Yeah, a better version of themselves.
That's it. And that's who they truly are, that they can consistently keep that up. Well, I wouldn't say consistently, because you don't know how people act 24/7.
But as consistently as you can. Sort of like not giving up that easily.
I think consistency is a big part of anything, whether it's gym or spirituality or whatever. In any aspect
relationships, sort of like studying. Just that, having that motivation. And it is really hard to sort of always have that motivation. Some days you just feel like you don't want to do anything. Some days you could just be having a bad day. You don't want to see anyone, don't want to speak to anyone. And it is hard. It is fine because it's natural, it's human. But like not letting it sort of weigh you down so much, because the next day is a new day and you can do something else that sort of will help you with that situation, with your studies. I think it's important to always look on the bright side of things.
I think that's that whole mentality is having a bright side mentality kind of thing. Yeah, there's something bad happened, but you know, it's always gonna get better. You know what I mean? There's things that you can do, how you can, I don't know, even prayer or talk to someone.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be the end of the world just because of that one thing happening, whatever it could be. But yeah, I think that's very important as well.
I think a lot of people, like, they like to think that their problems, they can only deal with it themselves, and perhaps talking to another person and expressing that, maybe they feel like they don't have someone to sort of express that to.
I can't lie, that used to be me in terms of, like, I used to hold every issue, and I never really liked talking about my issues to anyone except for maybe one person.
And how did you think that sort of made you live your life?
Very closed off. I feel like I became one of those people where, like, no one would ever know what's going on in my life in terms of whether it's something to do with my family or work or whatever. Like, even with my whole, I don't know, because my older brother's not like this, or my little brother's quite open as well. I just don't understand. When I see them, I'm like, okay, I respect that in terms of I want to be more like them in terms of, they're very open, they're good people, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with me, I would be, I'm by myself, I'm in my room. Like, I don't really want to get involved with anyone kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which kind of is detrimental. It's detrimental to my mental health. I realized that, especially during quarantine, my mental health was rock bottom, because I don't know, maybe it wasn't because I wasn't as open, so I made little things, I made rules to myself, so I would spend all the evening with my family. I wouldn't stay in my room at all. These little things to try help me kickstart this,
finding a better you.
Working on my mental health.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is important.
And it's really important to sort of shed light on this, because mental health, like, it's an important topic that is not talked about a lot. Especially for men, this sort of there is this, like, the concept of masculinity not being able, like, and this is partly due to, like, the patriarchal society we live in. I know I'm going to drop the patriarchal word, but like, with masculinity, it's emphasized that you shouldn't maybe, like, show vulnerability, show that you're dealing with something, because apparently emotions are a feminine trait, and you're not allowed to sort of cry, or it's okay to cry, it's okay to talk about your mental health, it's okay to sit down, whether it is to talk to your mum, to a friend that you trust, and be like, hey, you know what?
I'm struggling
right now. Like, I'm going through this, and like, I just really need someone. You don't even need to sort of give me advice, because
do you know what? Talking about it a lot of the times, I realized me just expressing myself to someone kind of just takes the weight off my shoulders completely. I just work on it through dialogue, like talking to them giving me their perspective, not giving me advice, but their perspective of how they would deal with things, or what maybe just telling me that it's not as bad as you think, kind of thing. Sometimes you need those kind of people to
absolutely,
say
because when you just keep these thoughts in your mind, you only have your own perspective, your own very subjective perspective of things and how you would go about resolving them. And perhaps you might feel yourself coming at a crossroads and you don't know which way to turn. But like, having another outside perspective that has no idea that what's going on with your life, opening up to them and hearing another point of view opens your mind up to perhaps different solutions you can take, different things you could do. And it first of all, it strengthens that connection you have with that other person, which I always think is a positive thing.
Oh, for sure.
Because in our lives, I think, like, it's our purpose to sort of meet other people and build connections with them. Like, just as we are building a connection with you guys, the listeners of Relaks Radio.
Shout out, listening.
Exactly. It's the same thing when you're sort of navigating friendships, relationships.
Another aspect of that is our egos. Is how you've gone about your life doing certain things a certain way.
Yeah, your way.
Yeah, your way, literally. So that ego inside of you is what kind of leads you to do all these maybe self-destructive habits, or so you need to realize
doing whatever it is that, like, at that moment you just naturally just did, you reacted or whatever. And
that's where my connection with Alan Watts actually came. So when I started doing more research in terms of how do you deal with your own ego kind of thing, he kind of breaks it down for you. He talks a lot about like who you are, how do you find yourself. Then you need to realize your ego is not actually you. It's stuff that's just, you know what I mean, how you've gone about life for so long. So in terms of,
because there is that sort of like that concept of our thoughts are not who we are. There's like, say like your brain is the stage and your thoughts is the person like speaking all the time, but like, who is the person speaking, who is the audience? We're kind of both at the same time. But listening to our thoughts, because some people can, like, you can always get bad thoughts, or
that happens.
It happens, but you should know that that is not what defines you. And there is a way to sort of get past that. Like you said,
like, it's habits. These thoughts they're habits in your head that you can never break a habit immediately. Like in any habit, like you gotta work on it, kind of thing. And you need to know that at the end of the road, when you get there, you realize it's much better there than where you were.
So what's Alan Watts' sort of thoughts on ego and stuff?
Well, he kind of goes quite deeply into it.
But like, in your interpretation, what do you think your ego is? What's it made of?
Well, my personal one, or just what? Okay, to be fair, I can't even answer.
It's hard to explain. Crazy. It's hard to put into words, because it's a concept that is sort of like anything to do with our minds. Really, it's hard to explain. Like, there is a science, like psychology is the science of the mind, let's say. But a lot of people like to say that, it's so hard to sort of
it is. It's
examine.
I mean, you've said this before. Everyone's mind is completely different.
Completely, and it's hard to sort of predict how every person is going to react to a certain situation, to a certain test, to a certain. It's hard to sort of measure things like that.
It's not measurable.
That's why I sort of admire people who work in the sort of psychology industry, psychiatrists, people who sort of give support to those suffering with mental like disorders and illnesses, and like, don't think that you are exempt from being affected from these kind of things, and don't put yourself in a box. Say you are dealing with something mentally. A lot of people like to throw out this word crazy, and like brand people like, you're suffering from a mental illness,
or you're getting therapy,
there's a really like that cognitive dissonance between crazy and like dealing with mental stuff. It should that there shouldn't be a connection between that. Like, what is crazy? There's not everyone's definition is different, first of all.
Yeah.
But second of all, like, I don't think we don't have the sort of authority to call another person crazy when their minds are completely built differently. They think in different ways.
The environment was different growing up. How these traumas from childhood can actually affect you because much later on.
Yeah, exactly. More times, people who are quote unquote crazy, let's not use that word anymore, but in this situation, they're victims to something that's happened to them. And that what has happened to them has led them to take the decisions to do something that perhaps isn't great or whatever.
Yeah, detrimental to that.
Yeah, detrimental to not just themselves but to other people as well.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's with anyone. But there's always a reason behind that. That's why I really appreciate about Stoicism is that it's an everyday thing, taking your emotions and the way you think into account, doing this sort of self-dialogue and introspection, looking back at how you should sort of improve the way you react to things, you deal with situations, you deal with relationships from a more of an objective point of view, from a.
Because we realize sometimes when you react to things in the moment, you're more time gonna regret it later down the line. Oh, why did I do this? Like, I didn't need to do that. Because you don't take account about everything about that person or that situation. You're just reacting at the here and now, and that just never ends up in a good way.
Yeah.
So I just
and you're spending all this time perhaps reacting to a situation, but not doing anything about it, because the reaction is not action. Like, reactions are like it's it isn't it but it is like sort of an emotional, maybe an outburst or an expression that you can't sort of control in that very moment, but you can control the steps you can take to solve that problem or to deal with that situation.
I believe even with that, what you're saying, a lot of everyone gets into confrontational situations. But I never take things to heart. But when people say some stuff like that, but that's just my outtake on life, because I understand that, emotions affect a lot of people, and I only understand that because I understood that I did the same thing when I didn't really understand it fully as well. So with that understanding, it's like a lot of things can be solved much quicker, rather than just be like holding grudges or whatnot, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Definitely. But back to Alan Watts, because we were speaking about this before, this concept of ego death.
Oh yeah.
You were saying you sort of went through it, but sort of experienced little like bits of it. Can you just explain to us what ego death really is, like a little bit?
I felt like a blank canvas, like complete. I didn't know who I was. I had to think about who I was to fully remember. But when you're blank, everything just feels like it's meant to be, kind of thing.
Right. Because we aren't our egos. Yeah. Is what you're saying.
And I fully took appreciation of life. That completely changed my whole aspect on the way I was approaching life. Completely. So,
right.
With ego death, how can you even? I can't even begin to describe to you what it's like.
Yeah. Well, what is it, first of all?
There's certain ways to reach it.
Right.
But if you ever do reach it, you are like, you understand, like, not even understand, you're just a blank canvas. It's the best way I can describe it to you. Because right now, our canvas is full of pain or whatever.
Pain, thoughts, emotions,
tears, wears, whatever. It's worn down. But then when you completely lost your ego, you're just like you're living in that moment. That's the most in the moment you could be. Kind of thing, because you're not thinking about what's going to happen in the future. You're not thinking about what's happened. Yeah, you're just there at that time, and life is just bliss.
Is it sort of like you sort of realizing that, well, I'm a human being on this big universe, and it's sort of almost a miracle that I'm here. Like, I'm like you said, the like conception of life is like, it is a miracle. It's like a 1 in a billion chance. I don't even know, but like
ridiculously bigger than that.
I don't even know. But Like the fact that we
are here right now.
Yeah. The way that we think, the way that we deal with things, are completely individual to us. That's something that's so special. And the fact that we're here in this universe, we have that opportunity to live out this life that we're given in any way that we want. Yeah.
It's crazy. That's an amazing thought.
Right. With Alan Watts, I know that he follows like Buddhism and stuff. And with Buddhism, they sort of they believe like well, it's going on to a path of like enlightenment sort of they believe that life is full of like suffering, human suffering, and the way you should sort of the way that you can end this suffering is to live by these like noble truths. The 4 noble truths it's called, which is that life is always like suffering, and well, we suffer because like we want things to happen a certain way. We want things to be done a certain way we want the things that we want, and because things might not always go our way, we suffer because of that. But with Buddhism, it's sort of emphasized that we should rise above this desire of what we want, and instead reach a point where we're sort of free from like the constraints of this.
That's enlightenment. Reaching that point is when you can say, like, all these materialistic things that we might want. I mean, I don't know if you consider a house materialistic, but I don't know, clothes, or these things trends, fashion, phones, all of these things, they weigh on your head that you don't really realize it. Oh yeah, I want that kind of thing.
Or they weigh on our head because sometimes more times it's the things that we don't have and it's what we want that are causing our suffering. Say you want a certain relationship to work out with a person, it doesn't work out, and that causes you to suffer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Say you're perhaps not like you don't have your dream job and you don't have the financial means to get what you want, whether that is a house, a car, whatever, etc. And it's these things that cause us suffering. This desire for things, for things that maybe perhaps are not as important as we find them. Yeah. For sure. And with Buddhism, and I know Alan Watts, he sort of like preaches this.
Yeah, he goes quite deep into it.
Yeah.
He researched it. He realized, like, he made the connection between Eastern and Western kind of way of thinking, like you said earlier. And from that, I kind of made my own kind of research, like, in terms of, let's say, that suffering point that you made, you can easily link that with Christianity. I mean, Jesus died on the cross for us.
Right.
In terms of he's sacrificing, he's suffering, and he sacrificed himself for the greater good for us, for humanity.
Yes.
And there's plenty of stuff plenty of stories that you can read from the Quran or the Bible that would entice this whole thought as well.
Yeah. I mean, Christianity is another way of like sort of thinking about life. It is a different life view, and religion is important to many people. Like you yourself, what religion did you grow up?
I grew up Christian Orthodox. I think the same.
Yeah. Same. So same here. Like there are sort of different ways that we've been taught to sort of think about religion and stuff. But in my case, like my grandparents, they're very religious. They know their prayers. They say grace before every meal. They go to church quite like devotedly.
Yeah, literally religiously.
Yes, literally religiously. And but with my parents, they taught, like, obviously my parents taught me and my sister like about the concept of God and stuff. But they never imposed on us that we need to always go to church, and we need to always do, because in my case, there aren't that many Orthodox Russian churches or like Moldovan churches in England. So the only one was one in London.
Yeah, mine is
in central London, very far. And like the sort of atmosphere in the church was like very repent for your sins, this and that, and especially when you're in an environment where you don't know a single thing what's being said. You don't understand the words. I don't know any Russian. I understand a bit of Russian, but like not enough to fully speak and express myself.
And the way they're speaking is quite hard for you to
it's hard, especially as a child. You're just like, I don't know what is going on here right now. So like my concept of religion has always been pretty open. Like I'm open to a lot of things. Obviously, the way I think it's been like sort of molded by the way I was sort of brought up and stuff. But I said before that religion or spirituality or whatever you want to call it, the way you want to live your life, let's say, it's very individual to you. You need to find your own journey and go on that journey and sort of find what is good for you, how you should go about different situations, problems, how you think what you think your purpose is in this life, the meaning of why you're here. And these are big questions.
Not easy to answer.
They're not easy to answer, but it's knowing that like it's something that you should work on every day. That's something that can help, and religion can help a lot of people in many different ways. And religion has always been a concept since like the beginning of time and stuff. There's always been
every civil society,
and any civilization there's always been this concept of there's a higher force.
There's a greater being.
A greater being, and sort of like
it's a common theme in every civilization.
Yeah. And whether it is like I don't know, the Vikings or the ancient Egyptians, or there's always been a concept of like there are gods, or there is a god, there's a higher force that has given us a
reason to be, like give them a reason, a purpose for life kind of thing.
And even though like sort of scriptures and stuff, because they were created by man, the fact that they have survived for so long
especially
gives them value. Like a lot of people like to say that, oh, religion is just like, or say the Bible, for example, the Christian Bible, is just written by a bunch of men who just wanted life to be led in that way. That's true, but like the fact that they thought they had this sort of conscious thought that, oh, there's something high above that, and that we all have that. We all question this, oh, why are we here and this and that.
And all the stories that in the Bible, for example, or even the Quran, they are very, like, you can relate to it.
Yeah.
At this present time where we're living in, each story there's a greater message. It's not just these characters, it's the message that they're trying to give. You literally can live by those if you understand it. You go about life living a certain way, like that way. You kind of understand the reason for that being there.
Yeah.
Like for example, plenty of I'm not sure I haven't done too much research on the Bible in itself, but there's quite whenever I talk to my religious friends, they'll tell me like, yeah, you should definitely like go ahead and read it. It's the same as like,
I mean, there's loads of different things. I've not read the Bible as well. Like I know like the couple of stories and stuff. What we're taught in school, what we're taught by our parents and stuff. Adam and Eve, whatever, Noah, and like
Ark.
and the Ark. And like Jesus and stuff. Of course, we're taught about this. It's like it's what we're sort of surrounded by.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What was the reason for you to try to look into this spirituality kind of thing?
Well, the same like reason as you. During lockdown, I sort of like was just questioning my life, questioning myself, perhaps the way I was dealing with certain things, or reacting to certain situations, or sort of the way I was acting with other people. Did a lot of questioning, like, because you're spending so much time alone. First of all, you've got nothing else to do. Once you've just rinsed out all the Netflix shows and like eaten all the snacks and stuff, you're just bored, and your mind naturally wanders all the time. And just in that time, I was really thinking like, oh, I'd really want to better my life, because I don't really like the way I'm feeling right now. Just a bit sad, a bit lonely. What can I do right now to sort of I don't know, make myself feel better without depending on another person, or depending on a thing like shopping or watching TV or whatever it is. That's when it was really during lockdown and quarantine. That's when it came into play. And then, like I said, I never really did any formal research into like spirituality and stuff, but I knew in myself, I felt in myself that, oh, there's a reason why I'm here, and I just need to find that reason. I need to go on a journey. I've not started that journey yet, and that's what kind of like set off this, like, my questioning stage of things. Like,
I mean, with that, I just think that there has to be something greater than us. how can certain things, how can the fact that me and you are speaking, having this conversation right now, it's like, it's quite intense. That's an intense thought. Like,
yeah.
To be fair, like, nothing, like, but to say that this is all by chance, it's like, how can you? I can't think that. I can't logically comprehend that.
Yeah, exactly. But also, why would you like believe that anything is just by chance or by whatever? When you can think, I don't know, when you can believe in something that sort of gives you a bit more hope. That's not to say that people who don't follow religion, who are agnostic or who are atheists, that they don't live their lives without like questioning anything or this and that. No. They've actually come to that perspective or come to that point where they believe, perhaps I don't think that there's a God out there. I don't believe in that.
At one point, I think a lot of people might have gone through that phase.
Absolutely. Growing up, I used to think, is there really a God?
Yeah.
Is there really anything out there? Yeah. Everything that's happening right now, if there is a God, why is there so much suffering? Why is this and that? Or how comes that even when I, who is living such a good life, a privileged life, blessed, literally, I have my family, I have a good house, I have all of this, am I still feeling this way? Like a bit sad, a bit down. Not all the time, but like in certain times and moments of sadness or strife, you question these things. And I used to question like, if there really is a God, then why is this all happening? But it only came in like, only dawned on me now as I've grown up and during lockdown and stuff, is that like there are just so many things that we need to learn. So many things that we need to sort of navigate like ourselves, and going on this journey of finding ourselves, whether it is through spirituality or through the way we mark ourselves in this world, like what we do and stuff.
I think I had similar thoughts as you in terms of I'd be thinking, like there can't be that a big floating man somewhere just making decisions for, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows everything. I thought I couldn't comprehend that kind of thought. Which is what kind of, when you have nothing that's like trying to watch you, or not watch you, I'm saying something that you believe in, a way of thought, you kind of build these kind of self-destructive habits, like without thinking of the consequences, or like, because
without realizing, to be fair.
And that's the point. That's what I was gonna make. You'll be doing all these things that you wouldn't even realize until much later on, until it's too late to fix what you've already started. But obviously, there's never too late. You can always start a spiritual journey anytime. But it's the effects of that spiritual journey which you need to appreciate.
You also need to appreciate everything that's happened in your life so far.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like regretting all the things that you've done or you haven't done. It's spending like I said, spending that much time on dwelling on those facts and dwelling on what's going to happen in the future, the unpredictability of it. It, like I said, it steers you away from actually living in the present moment right now. And this has been a very interesting conversation so far. I'm really enjoying it. How are you finding it?
It's been fun. It's been amazing.
No, you're a good guest. What can I say? I think we're going to go on a quick little break. We were speaking for a while. It's almost been like an hour. That's how I know the conversation's flowing.
Really? Wow.
Exactly. We're going to go on a little break. Remember, you guys can always call us here at the studio at Relaks Radio on the number 07852 473 473. You know what? I'd love for any of you guys to be part of the conversation, build some more connections with you, because we're both on this spiritual journey and whatnot. I'd really appreciate that. Remember, you guys should always download the Relaks Radio app, follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, watch our live streams, which are on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And we're going to go on a break and we'll speak to you shortly.
Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relax Radio.
Hello and welcome to Relax Radio. You're back with Regina and
Amen.
Emmanuel. Would you like to be called?
Amen, it's cool.
Amen. All right, cool. Amen. What are you saying? Obviously, I already knew that, but for our listeners, they don't really know what you like to be called. So let's see. We spoke a little bit about like spirituality, Christianity, our own religions that we grew up with, and we touched upon Buddhism a little bit during our conversation about Alan Watts. You were sort of recommending a few of his videos on YouTube.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can find hour-long lectures. Oh, I say hour-long, but they fly by literally. When you start to kind of understand what he's talking about, like obviously the way they're speaking, they make a point, and the next point relates to that point. And with that thought process, it just works with you. You just keep going with it.
And it's I guess he's speaking about a lot of things that you can sort of relate to.
Yeah, literally, it resonates so deeply.
Yeah.
You don't even realize.
Yeah.
It's like,
Wow. So like I said, he's a Buddhist and a Taoist, and with Buddhism we spoke about how like they want to reach the whole gist of Buddhism is to reach the state of enlightenment, to reach nirvana, where like it's sort of a supreme state of being, like completely letting go of like your like desires, material desires, your emotional desires and stuff, reaching a state of being that's sort of enlightened. And to do that is to follow the sort of noble truths which we touched upon. You have to go through you have to follow this concept of the noble eightfold path, if I'm correct. And it's sort of living your life and with the sort of the right like the right view, the right resolve, the right speech, the right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Like engaging in these things and sort of living our life to sort of do our best to like put in effort the right way, concentrate the right way. And obviously our concepts of what is right and wrong are different, like not like widely, but like how we should live our lives are completely different.
I think it's quite different majorly.
But to reach this sort of state of enlightenment where you feel like you've learned everything there is about life to learn, that's what Buddhism really kind of emphasizes. And it's where a lot of it's where Alan Watts has taken a lot of his inspiration from. This sort of Buddhist view, this Taoist view. I mean, with with Buddhism, they obviously follow the Buddha, who is like the enlightened, the main figure.
Yeah.
And but with Taoism, it's different because they don't really have a god. It's not really. It's like well, first of all, it's like there's an unknown like origin of it.
Yeah.
There's not really like
it's too ancient. It's old.
Yeah, and it's deeply rooted in like Chinese custom and culture. But with Taoism or Taoism, I think, because there's two names to it.
Yeah.
But it's there's an sort of a unknown founder of it because there's no date of its like conception or anything. But
so that's how you know it's been here for a while.
Yeah. It is a belief that there is like another force that sort of helps us guide our lives or gives us the reason why we have this life in the first place and what we should do to sort of I don't know, reach a state of not suffering but like, I don't know, enlightenment, I guess like kind of like Buddhism, I'd say.
I mean, Buddhism and Taoism are actually very closely linked. When you start looking at, I mean, there's research, or not research, it's known that Buddhism is derived from Taoism.
Right.
Yeah, so there's little things that you see that is a main factor that goes up.
So Taoism must have been like, it must have been...
It's ancient. And the fact that it's been here
ancient,
so long,
yeah.
It says quite a lot. It means for something to stay for this long in any, I mean, look, civilizations have come and gone. The Rome Empire, all of that. It's been here and gone, even but
and like
still
the
there,
Chinese civilization, they've been here for the longest, or I don't know, for a long time, not the longest, but it's like obviously the ideas are still present in this day, and the fact that Buddhism comes from Taoism, obviously it sort of emphasizes like the importance of it, the significance of it, in sort of Chinese Asian culture, and but it sort of emphasizes the sort of unity between like bad and good, like this yin and yang sort of concept of like unity and opposites, because you see the yin and yang sign and a lot of people just think, oh, it's just like a Chinese symbol or whatever, but there's so much more behind that.
A lot of it. It's to do with balance, a lot of negative plus positive. You need both in your life. You can't live a life fully positive, and obviously we know that you can't live a life fully negative, but I mean, this is actually the main one thing that really kind of got to me was the fact that Alan Watts died because of his alcohol addiction. So you can see that even though he knows like the whole balance thing. Sometimes it can go to one side, but it's the fact that even though that guy is one of the most enlightened people who lived in like a couple generations ago, but the fact that he passed away from an alcohol addiction shows that no one can be perfect. You know what I mean? There's certain things that happens in life, these things, but it's how you handle it and how you have to balance it in your life. Otherwise, it can just go south.
I didn't know he died of his alcohol addiction.
It surprised me as well.
Yeah, like obviously people are like, I'd say that's a bit ironic, isn't it? But like, well, he's lived his life sort of preaching this way of living, trying to find enlightenment or going on a spiritual journey that will help you. And my question is, why didn't it help him with his alcohol addiction? But at the same time, you know what? We are human, and he's a human just like the rest of us. There are no living gods on this earth or in this universe that we know of. There are just our concepts of it. And but we shouldn't, like, I don't know, it's not right to sort of blame him for that fact.
For sure. Like when he would lecture about like I'd always try to resonate with what I know already. So he would obviously talk about Taoism, Buddhism. I kind of made a couple links, or even things that differ between my religion, my Christianity, and like these things in terms of how we approach and how we see life. So with like Christianity, we know that Jesus is the Son of God. We worship him. We're waiting for him to come back, right? Like resurrection, and he's back. Everything's gonna be, all the problems you have, it's just gonna go. That's what we believe, right? But with Buddhism, like they don't really have their main figure is the Buddha.
Right.
He has no given name. He's the Buddha. Like, does that kind of show that how we see, how we visualize in our societies, in Western versus Eastern societies, there's a lot of quite differing things that maybe even might stem from religion.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
I mean, like with Christianity, there is that concept of, when Jesus returns, all of our suffering will go away and our sins will be washed away and stuff like that. But with Buddhism, it's there's that awareness that life is suffering, but to sort of alleviate us, we have to go through that suffering and learn from that, and take these steps, like the right way of thinking, the right resolve, doing these things to sort of reach a point where we no longer have this desire to to desire anything. You just know stuff.
There was a funny quote that he said, to desire not to desire is a desire in itself, which is what he said, and I was that even just made my head heat up. But I found that, like, we all have desires. To desire to not desire is a desire. Yeah,
it's a catch-22. Like, it's just it's tough. But with Buddhism, and this is like, Buddhism is it's a way of life that people devote themselves to, like, very, very wholeheartedly. You see those monks that go away and live in the temple.
Shaolin monks,
and they sort of dedicate their entire lives to reaching the state of enlightenment, and it is.
That's not even the highest form of the Buddhism. The highest form is to be able to live in society and still practice.
Yeah.
That is the highest form. I can't remember the name of it, but that, if you're able to do that, then you have reached the highest level of it.
Because, like, if you're in an environment where everyone is sort of like doing things a certain way, you're naturally gonna want to belong.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's the same in that
Human
case.
Nature,
yeah, in the environment of a Buddhist temple where people are sort of all actively trying to reach enlightenment and they're doing these practices. Obviously, it's very easy to follow that, and especially when you have your own sort of devotion or your own desire to reach that, which is funny in itself, because Buddhism is like, it preaches, you shouldn't have any desires, but there is that desire to reach enlightenment. It's funny, but it's obviously they're trying to learn how to get rid of that, and it's interesting.
They understand that, they know that they will never be able to fully be like that. But that's the thing. So that's why they say the whole thing of, like, yin and yang, for example. You always need a balance of both sides.
Yeah.
So even desires, we're never gonna escape that. That we will always have desires.
It's
no
just
matter what
learning
time.
how to deal with it, balance that. Like, everything that we desire perhaps might not be what's good for us.
Yeah.
You might, like, desire to have a relationship with a certain person, but maybe that relationship isn't good for you. Or maybe you want all these like cars, money and stuff like that. Maybe that's not what you should put all your importance on. Like, it's not what you should focus on completely. But who knows?
I mean, like, we don't even know if that's actually good or bad for us. That's the struggle we're in. I
mean, and that's life, isn't it? Like, you're just living for every day, trying to figure out, like,
feel your way through, innit?
Yeah,
simple.
It's tough. We're, like, on this show, we're sort of tackling, like, big questions, and obviously, like, I'm not
the most.
I'm not the most knowledgeable. I don't know the whole meaning of life, and I can't, like, preach to you, do this and do that. But just opening up the conversation about different ways of thinking, different perspectives, whether it's Buddhism, Stoicism, Taoism. There's so many things that you can take from that, and with your own religion as well, or perhaps your own way of thinking. There's so many things that you can take from that and learn from it. Like, I'm not gonna go away and say, you know what, I'm gonna become a devout Buddhist, because I know that perhaps that isn't it's not for me. That's what I want to say.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't have that kind of discipline, but there's, like, lessons from, or, like, concepts that I admire and like can learn from, and can sort of apply little things in my life to sort of better it for myself. And it's like the different, like, mini, like,
lessons.
These little mini pathways to the big one that I'm sort of going on right now, which is life, and it's really interesting. But yeah, is there anything that you wanted to ask? Anything that you want to talk about? Because this has been very like a spiritually like heavy show today, and I know that's the main thing that we're talking about. But is there anything like else you want to talk about?
I just wanted to maybe mention one person that I've only recently started. It's called Jordan Peterson's biblical series on YouTube, and it's all free. And each one is about a 2-hour lecture, but it's him kind of going through a thought process on the Bible. So he started the first one is called the Introduction to the Idea of God. So for people that are struggling with, I don't understand how there can be a man floating in space or whatever,
or just people who are just interested, like even if you're not religious, like
for sure. That's probably a great start. He breaks it down to a point where it makes sense. You can understand. He goes through history, through the beginning of when these ideas started to appear
and when they were recorded and stuff.
Exactly. So when it first started to get recorded, obviously the idea of God is probably much older than we can imagine. But he starts from where it's like you can see it, it's tangible, and he breaks it down, and it's such an amazing way of like the way he thinks is crazy. So I would definitely recommend watching it.
And it's interesting because is he a religious person himself, or is he like a man of science? Or
no, he's a doctor. He's a scientist. The way he goes about life is analytical. He breaks things down and he tries to understand things for what it is. But he always said he struggled with the idea of God because he grew up in a very like a Christian household. So
quite strict.
Yeah, very Catholic, I'd say. He was a strict Catholic household. So eventually now he kind of applied his scientific way of thinking to religion. So he tries to get tangible things and try to measure or like try to figure out everything and then analyze. So yeah, with that, it's quite.
I mean, people like to make a big difference between science and religion, but if we like, you can be a scientist and believe in, not believe, but like know that there are the facts of the universe and this is what proves it. Yes, that's all well and good, but you can also have a different perspective on
spirituality.
Yeah, on spirituality, on religion and stuff. It's the concept of yin and yang. Like you can have an analytical view of things, but also be open to the idea that there might be sort of a value or something real to concepts of God or a higher force, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. You can keep a balance of that. I think that's a really
it's amazing.
It's a good perspective to have. And obviously, like you were telling me before with Jordan Peterson, that's his name, right?
Yep, Jordan Peterson.
Peterson, right. The way he expresses his views, sometimes he might be a bit like he's very opinionated.
Oh yeah.
And he backs everything up, like everything that he says. But sometimes that might not like align with my own personal like beliefs. But what I can admire is that the fact that he is so sort of sure of himself, and like he sticks to that, but like that discipline of sticking to your own opinion. I mean, everyone has
with him, and he doesn't. Well, he does stick to his guns, but in terms of if you make a valid point and are able to back it up, which are better than his views, he will adopt your views. Kind of, he's that kind of person. He's very
like learn from you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And he does speak about that quite a lot. You can see that he does a lot of debates, a lot of like. He wrote a book, 12 Rules to Life, which is one of the best-sellers books. That if you way approaching life, if you're kind of lost at the moment, that kind of book will kind of set you straight. That's the kind of book that he has.
We'll just give you another like perspective on how to like sort of deal with different stuff, different questions of life or different situations and such. But like I said, I really admire the fact that he's sort of always willing to. I like people like that who even if you don't agree with them, they're willing to sort of argue their case and state the facts, or give not state the facts, but give the evidence to back up their statements. And you can learn from
not enough of people like it.
Yeah, you can learn from people like that, even if you don't necessarily agree with him on certain topics. And everyone's free to say whatever they want to say. They have that freedom. I mean, we all have brains to sort of think about.
He makes that point quite a lot.
Yeah,
he does.
We all have like this not magical, but like amazing, miraculous things in our
I would say
heads.
magical, bro.
Like the brain is something that it amazes me entirely. The fact that we have thoughts and a consciousness. Yeah. It's something that I can't really understand myself.
Yeah, me too, actually. I had that thought recently. I was just like, why is this guy talking?
No, seriously, like the fact that we have brains and like the reason why we have that, why we the most advanced, evolved beings on this, like in the universe,
so far as we know,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, if we open up the conversations to like the existence of aliens, which I think they exist. Come on, we can't be the only beings on this, like in this universe, this big universe. No.
Shout out all the aliens listening.
Exactly. Here in this room right now, if there's anyone, you know what, I rate you. But yeah, definitely.
That's quite an amazing thing. Yeah, no, I believe that as well. Just the whole thing of how are we where we are right now, kind of that question is quite a big question.
Yeah. I mean, I was having a conversation with my dad before. Like, he was telling me he's seen UFOs. He always tells me this story. He was back in our old house in Dagenham, and I was like 5 years old. He was outside smoking a cigarette, and he was like it was actually around this time in like winter.
Yeah, quite.
And he's looking up at the sky, and it's a clear night, no clouds, no planes or anything. It's a clear sky, and he just sees like just a circular thing pop out of nothing, like it literally like a UFO, and then it splits into 8 like different, they look like spotlights, like lights, like circular things. And as it split into 8, he calls for my mum, who was washing dishes in the kitchen, and she runs to the garden, and they both saw how it sort of disappeared again into nothing.
What the hell?
So literally like this one circular thing that split into 8 little circle things, and then like disappeared back again. Even though my mom didn't see how they appeared, she saw the way how they flew away. And he was like, Regina, there was nothing that could have flown that fast. There was nothing that could have like, I don't know, like split that fast. Like what is that? It must have been something like, it must have been aliens. That's what he's saying, basically. And that's always like, it's always interested me, because who knows what it was? It definitely, like, by the way he describes it, and the way that like, my dad is also a man of like facts.
Yeah.
He's very like not scientific, but like he was really good at
he doesn't
the way he thinks. Like he knows facts are facts, and you always have to have the evidence to back it up. But with something like that, something that's unexplainable like that, who knows what it is? Whether it's God, whether it is the Tao force, I don't know. It could be. It could have been anything, but to him,
he believed it.
He believed it. That there's a possibility of aliens or something.
I can't wait till the day we finally find out what's in Area 51.
Do you know what? I don't even think there's anything in there. I think it's all a lie.
You think it's just hype?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're hiding stuff. I can't lie to you. There's no way they're hiding.
Did you see that thing on social media? I don't know how long ago it was, but when people were saying, "Oh yeah, let's storm, raid Area 51," we're finally finding out what they're hiding in there.
I wish I did it. I honestly do. Because why are they guarding that place so heavily if it's not aliens? Okay,
I don't know. Another thing is the Bermuda Triangle, though.
Oh,
what's in
crazy.
there? What's that?
They tried to explain it, but do they even have an explanation?
I don't even know what it is, first of all.
Isn't it that triangle in the Mediterranean?
Yeah, Mediterranean, yeah. Got that right.
The sea, and when ships fly above it, sometimes...
It just, disappears, or what? It just stops working?
Sometimes their compasses or their figures... and
doesn't work.
Anything electrical kind of bugs out. And then a lot of times planes have crashed. Sometimes they just disappear. Like, there was actually a weird, a weird story that I saw. How this flight crew took off, and they went through like this like a like a storm, and there was like a hole which they went through, and they went out the other side, and they were at their destination, and they were like, "How have we traveled this fast so quickly?"
No.
And I swear you can search this up. They have been trying to answer that question for so long. No one knows how.
So, like, what, they flew through a storm?
I don't know if it's like some sort of whole storm, you know what I mean? Like them wormholes.
Right.
I don't know. No one knows. They can't explain it. And to this day, I think I watched a YouTube documentary on that, and I was like,
how does that work?
Yeah, like, what the heck just happened? Like, and why are people not talking about this kind of thing?
Mate, there's so many things that happen, like, in this universe, in this world, that are just so unexplainable. Yeah. Like, even science can't explain it at the moment. Like, I don't know. That's why I'm always like open to the idea that open to different perspectives of life.
There's got to be something. Maybe God's trying to just play a prank, you know? Who knows?
Yeah, if you believe in a God. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. If you believe in it. Well, it could be wormholes. I mean, all of that is still theoretical, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of like research that goes into it and stuff. I mean, who knows? The universe is so big and wide, and you know what? But maybe it's our job to find out. Like, our job, as in like the human scientists, doctors, whatever, us, literally. It's our job to find out as much as we can, as much as we can about ourselves. Because actually, there was a quote from Alan Watts. He says, like, basically, well, let me get up the quote. But the gist of it is like, we are the universe and the universe is us. The more we understand more about ourselves, about our brains, the way it works, we can understand the universe around us, because we sort of make our own like environments. And you think, or we sort of make our own lives. The people that we surround ourselves with, we choose to to
allow them in.
Yeah, and whatever we attract, we are. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
So, but his quote, let me just get it up. It's that he says, "You are a function of what the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing." So basically, like,
that's quite
it's
intense thought,
it's deep, but like everything that we're doing right now is what the universe is doing in that same sort of sense, like, and just finding out the reasons perhaps why we do stuff and the way we live our lives is,
and maybe just try to understand. We can understand things further from understanding.
Like, that's why it's so important to go on this journey to understand everything there is to understand about yourself. And it's not gonna be easy, it's not gonna be quick, but it's something that's worth doing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I think that that closes the show pretty nicely with a little Alan Watts quote.
Yeah, with that little quote.
Yeah, like I said, he recommended me. He recommended loads of different Alan Watts videos to watch. I've not. Do you know what? I've not even watched all of them, but the ones that I have watched, they've inspired me. Like his one on like the importance of money, of material wealth and stuff. That was really interesting to me, because there was a lot that I could relate to and stuff. And there's a lot that, like, other people can relate to as well.
Oh, for sure.
And there's loads of different lectures. I'll look into Jordan Peterson, and because I don't really know that much about him.
I'll send you some clips.
His biblical what was it called again?
The biblical series.
The biblical series, because there's a lot about Christianity. Even though I'm a Christian, there's a lot that I still need to learn about.
Yeah, for sure.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. We touched on loads of different things, and but you know, with a conversation that flows as naturally like this, like, you're bound to like delve into different little subtopics. But I've always tried to bring it back to like Stoicism and Buddhism and stuff, and just living a sort of perhaps a spiritually, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a deeper, try to find a meaning to where you're going.
Going on a sort of a bit of a spiritual journey and taking in different philosophies, different ways of thinking.
Just opening up, understanding that your world is not just black and white. There's so many different colours to it.
Right, that's a bar in itself. All right then. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. Remember to always download the Relaks Radio app. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and The Relax Radio app is where you can listen to all the shows, and especially my show on Wednesdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Regina Talks. And today Regina talked about Stoicism, Buddhism, and Taoism. Respect. Basically, and a few other different things, aliens, Bermuda Triangle, whatever. Yeah, so till next week, guys. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll see you later.
Relax Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না